Hi everyone, here I am again. It's Natalie. This time with a VR to Sylvain at Sylvain's Deadly Sins. I think that's it. I think that's the name of his channel. Anyway, he came up with the hashtag 7 Deadly Sins. And I've been chomping at the bit to film this one ever since I saw that. There's so many. I actually just started making lists and, writing everything down so I wouldn't forget. And when I had a day where I wasn't in demand in some way, I could get in and film them. So here I am. I'm so excited. I can't believe it. So the first deck is for the sin of pride. So this is a deck that you flex with, or that you use to flex. And Sylvain's, his particular one was the Thoth, because there's so much gatekeeping around the Thoth. And then I saw Tracy from Two Rocks Tarot and Nina from Shuffle Tarot and a few others, I believe, who said that they had a deck that they were especially proud of. So I'm going to say that this would be a combination of both, okay? I'm going to say that this is a deck that I'm about to flex with, and it's the pride of my collection in some ways. It is the Buddha Tarot by Robert M. Place. It is an out-of-print version of the deck that was originally published by, that one, by Llewellyn. And I absolutely love this deck. It's, I'm not super crazy about the artwork in some respects. I think I talked about that in the Not My Aesthetic video. That was a VR to Mixtress Ray. But I've really been able to overlook that in so many respects in order to just work with the cards, which is really, isn't that the point? We hope it's the point. But I guess why so I'm proud of it, because it is that sort of like out of print unicorn that I looked for years. And so in some respects, it's the pride of my collection, for that reason. It's that old fashioned Llewellyn cardstock that a lot of people slam. But I got to tell you folks, doesn't it look almost brand new? And I've been carrying this thing around, shuffling it, riffling it, using it a lot in the last year, and it pretty much looks brand new. You would never know. So for all we have to say about that, look, it's not bad. Not bad at all. It is, I guess then why I feel like it's a flex deck for me too is because I have the ability, because of my Tibetan practice, to be able to interpret a lot of the symbolism and to be able to combine the systems, right? So I know enough about the Buddha's life in general, and the different aspects of Tibetan Buddhism that Robert M. Place is drawing upon. So I can read that. I know the stories. I know how to fill in those blanks and combine those systems. And it's become a more and more automatic thing for me to be able to do that over time as I've had the deck. So I'm super nerded out about it, and I will probably do all kinds of fun videos in the new year about this deck, especially because it's about to be re-released with a much chunkier guidebook, which I'm so excited to see, because this one's good. It is a good guidebook for a little white book. Of course, I mean it's Robert M. Place, right? So he does offer a lot of good information in here, and as always, I crave more. And I think probably retrospect has done a lot for him in terms of being able to expand upon what he originally wrote. Although who knows, it's easy to take what's here and turn it into a much bigger publication. It's larger print and so forth, right? So we'll see. We'll see what the differences are. Yeah, just super excited, super duper love it. So I'm going to say that this one is a flex deck because I can flex my knowledge about, both systems, and It is simultaneously a pride deck because I'm proud to have this one in my collection. I looked for a long time to find one that I'd be able to afford, and I was so happy when I did. So there we go. So the next one is the Sin of Greed. And this is a deck or decks, as many of us have found, that we use only for ourselves. So it's never decks that we are using for other people, but just for us. And boy, have I got one for you, folks. Let's talk about some greed. What I chose for this particular one is all of my Mellissae Lucia decks, at least the ones I can lay my hands on right now, because I don't share them with anybody else. These are decks that I use only for myself, happily only for myself. They are, wonderful, like photo-oriented decks, kind of in the folk saint tradition. I've heard a lot of criticism about her decks, and so forth. I will say simply that I understand where some of that's coming from, and at the same time, having taken one of her classes, I will say simply that it's amazing. Like the impact of the deck and the decks and the impact of their the way these images operate on you in the context of her classes and the context of the exercises that she gives you to work with is pretty remarkable in terms of piecing together a coherent reading. They've been so meaningful. This is her Santos and Signs #2 deck. Yeah, these just are really, I'm not really a I say I'm not a Marian devotee. And yet some of you will probably have noticed this Black Madonna that's kind of a little worse for the wear. I won't turn it over. It's a prayer card from Tom's father's funeral. And I think this is, anyway, it's very significant. It brought a lot of meaning to me, in large part because of my connection with these decks and because of Melissa's connection with Mary. I have had my own connection with Mary in the past that was really profound. This is some sacred sand that she found at a particular site. I keep that with this one. This was the Santos and Signs deck #1, which I have not edged. And this one I know best because I carried it with me for months and months and months. And when I would get a quiet moment while I was working with my client in 2020, I frequently turned to this deck and immediately did a reading with it. And it was always meaningful. And it was always very immediate. This particular one card where you see the feet of a Jesus and then all of these stamps that ended up on the concrete inspired me to want to make my own deck from photographs I've been collecting of things on concrete. Again, I don't identify at all anymore as a Christian. And yet Melissa's way of working with these decks really, they reopened my mind to that aspect of, not just, I guess, of Christianity, but of I don't know quite what I'm saying. I used to be a very devout Christian at one time, and I even became something of a Catholic type person at one point because the impact that saying rosaries had on me. It was just so huge. And so that kind of reconnects me to that space within myself and within the greater world. I guess that's where I'm going. This is my original version of the Oracle of Initiation, which is a little different than the newer one, than the deluxe version. I believe you can still get this one on her, this version of it, the deluxe, on her Etsy page. This one isn't cheap, but it is, to me, it's completely worth it. Again, I feel perpetually a little bit overwhelmed by the depth with which she writes about her own initiation into spirit and into kind of this world of spirit. It spoke to me so deeply that I couldn't. I had to have it. It was the one way I could start to make sense of and integrate that experience in a way that it would become useful and feel less like a curse, if that makes any sense at all. And basically what she did was, for years, and she still, I believe, runs workshops like this, or she did. It's been a while since I've caught up with Melissa, and I just love her to pieces. But she would go into the desert, paint her entire body naked, go wild, and then photograph herself just dancing in that space. You know, it also, ironically for me, ends with 88 and Rainbow Oracle. You know, 88 kind of like double... or like double infinity symbols, and rainbow as in like rainbow light, and the Tibetan tradition of that really comes forward to me in this card. I just love it. I love it. I love her for being so open and vulnerable and sharing that experience in that way. And I really do honor and respect a person's ability to what's the word I want? She has chosen to do it in a way that the sharing of it in a way that feels authentic and manageable to her, without cheapening or destroying that experience for herself. So she's found a way to share the really priceless nature of that experience and her work as an artist in such a way that it doesn't diminish that experience for her or cheapen it. And yet she's got a way to communicate it to others, if that makes sense, right? So because of that, I completely, I just have no real beef about it. You know, I have no beef about it. This one I'm really precious about. Because this is the luxe edition of the deck. I have not worked with it. I continue just to stick with the first one because I'm kind of intimidated and I don't want to mess these up, even though I really love the new, there's different cards. There are different cards in here. And I love how much bigger they are and how much the gloss brings to the photographs. I mean, it just changes everything. And yet I know that when I pick it up and start using it, it's going to change the nature of the cards. And I just haven't gotten past that yet. So I will at some point, and I'll begin using it and loving on it. I'm just not quite there yet. Not quite there yet. You know, it is a deck that can still be a little bit triggering for me to work with, and frightening, which is rare. I don't normally have that experience of decks, but anyway, this one, these can, you know, if anyone's going to do it, it'll be this one, which is exactly why I need to work with it. So, it does have a beefy guidebook. Let me grab it. It's usually not too far away. This is the Oracle of Initiation guidebook, and I can't remember if it was Lulu or another such site, but you know, it's a really, really good guidebook that's in great depth about each card, where it comes from, what her work with it is, I mean, it's, what is grid view? I can't remember what, oh yeah. That's it. She lays out the entire journey in a grid. That's right. Yeah. It's a really well organized, well put together book, you know, that accompanies the deck. I found it invaluable. So anyway, so that's my greed. There's my greed decks. Next is the Sin of Wrath, or Wrath, as we say in the U.S. And this would be a deck that you're angry with for some reason or another. And I actually have two Wrath decks. One has a rational reason for being angry. The other has an irrational reason for being angry at it. One is still in my collection. That would probably be surprising to a lot of you, but it is the rational one. And the irrational one I eliminated while it was still brand new and unused. So without further ado, let's start with the rational, right? So the rational is the Angel Tarot by Travis McHenry. Why am I angry about this deck? Well, let me tell you. I'm struggling to work with it, even though I think this is also the second version of it that I've gotten. And for whatever reason, both times it just had, you know, something about it was just kind of gross or off. The cards themselves, I have no real issue with. They are beautiful. They're very beautiful. I'm irritated that I can't really read what's in the sigils and seals at the bottom. That bugs me. They're so tiny that it's almost, you really almost can't make them out. So in order to work with those, you sort of have to look them up online or get a magnifying glass, one or the other. I've done both. That's irritating. That irritates me. The actual cards themselves, sometimes I understand why they go with the tarot. Other times I have no clue. So I kind of almost wish that he had done a deck of the 72, I'm going to mess the name up, the Shemhamforesh angels, instead of trying to make it 78 and then leaving some of the, you know, some of the archangels out of there. You know, like we have Uriel, we have Michael. I can't remember which one it is. I think maybe it's Raphael that's not here. We have Haniel, Gabriel, Samael. I think it's Raphael that's not in here. And I'm irritated by that. I also feel irritated by that. So then, you know, we have Metatron. I love Metatron, actually. I mean, I love all of them. But it bugged me a lot that there, you know, his choice of who he left in and who he chose not to put in to make it 78 feels forced. I thought, well, you know, I'll keep working with it anyway or try working with it anyway. But what bothers me then as well came from, see again, like it's just kind of, inside of the box is kind of crummy. What really then bothered me a lot is that when you go to the guidebook, it's impossible to tell if McHenry, if Travis got it wrong or on purpose, or whether he just didn't do his homework. Is it Raphael that's missing? I feel like it is. We have Michael, Metatron, Gabriel, Haniel, Samael, and Uriel. Yeah, it's Raphael. That bugs me that he's missing. You know, that's just weird. It doesn't give a huge amount of detail about how one might work with this, with the Shemhamforesh angels. But not only that, some of the it was Julianne Victoria, actually, I think, who brought this to my attention. I had not done that research yet. I just sometimes, and I should stop. I should really stop. I tend to assume that a deck creator will take the time to make sure that not only that they've gotten those things correct, but that also that the publishers have as well. So I don't know if this is a mistake made by the publisher or if it's a mistake made by Travis McHenry. I really don't know. but it makes me mad. So some of the quotes are correct, but some of the numbers of chapters of Bible verses are wrong. And two are, I'm starting to just like, because I'm irritated. The dates on some of these are incorrect. Dates, times, and associations for some of these angels are incorrect. So in order to really make the cards useful and to be able to work with them, you have to have a different guide or guidebook or piece of information that you're working from that's actually correct. Then assuming that you can do, and I haven't taken the time to do that because I'm only now getting past or starting to get past my wrath over that whole thing. I didn't immediately rehome the deck because it does still kind of call to me somehow and want to be worked with. And I'm starting to realize that it's okay simply to work with the cards and their associations without use of this guidebook, and to make my own like journal entries and so forth with it. Yes. So that's where I'm coming from with it. But that irritates me. For someone who's so is theoretically realized as Travis, who makes so many decks, come on, man. Or if it's a mistake made by the editors which I doubt, somehow, I feel like this would they'd be more likely to, anyway, because it's so esoteric, to look really closely at what he wrote. If it's a matter of Rockpool getting it wrong, well then, come on, you guys, come on. But that makes me mad. I like my esoteric stuff to be spot on, specific, and right. So there we go. The other deck is not here. And that will upset some of you when you find out which one it is. It is the, is it called it's the Tarot of Gaia, or the Gaia Tarot. It's not the Gaian Tarot. It is the one that has its own system, and the box is really dark. I believe it's either Llewellyn. No, it's maybe US Games publishes it. I can't remember. I bought it at the beginning of the year, or at the end of last year, in a sale. And I didn't unbox and open it until mid-January, or late January maybe. And all of the white people with horns on their heads, where, bare-chested, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. It was traumatizing to me because of guy's name is out of my head too, the QAnon shaman, and January 6th. I just couldn't deal with it. I couldn't wrap my head around that to appreciate the deck as it is. And I understand so many people love it. I just unfortunately discovered it at the wrong time and under the wrong circumstances, and I have not been able to get past that. What can you do? What can you do? So there's that. But I rehomed the deck as quickly as I could, and it is gone. So there we go. Do you hear the wrath in my voice? Yeah. So moving on. Okay, the next deck, or the next sin, is the Sin of Envy, a deck that you purchased because other people had it. Now, I think there's way too many of us who could admit, probably, that we have so many decks in our collection because of that. Because we all watch each other's videos and say, oh my gosh, I really want to get this one or that one or the other one. But one where I didn't act with great intelligence about making that choice in such a way that I have come to really question whether it was a right choice to make or not. Except that it's, I'll explain. But the one it is the Pocket of Peers Tarot by Jamie Sawyer. So, this one I saw on Kickstarter, and I saw a couple of videos, like, here's what's coming up videos. I loved the production quality. I love Jamie Sawyer. Really love Jamie Sawyer. I love her work. If I'd had enough money at the time, and I did not, I probably would have purchased the big package that included the carrying bag and the this and that. And I'm glad I didn't, because I really stuck with what I could actually afford. I forgot there were these cute stickers in here. Oh my gosh. And the cute bookmark. It is a beautiful deck. It is beautifully produced. And I'm regularly look at it. I think because I bought it at a time where I really could not afford to purchase it. Look at that. That is just outrageously beautiful. I think that has influenced my feeling about it, because it's one I could have lived without, although who could live without that edging? That's so beautiful. I'm glad I'm doing that. I gotta sniff. Okay, that makes me appreciate it more when I can sniff the deck, and it sniffs good. It is so beautifully produced. It is flawlessly produced. And I struggle, oh, that's Melissa. Yeah, I struggle with, I just struggle with all of it somehow. I don't know why. It was definitely like a FOMO deck for me. I like the Benebel's in it as the Justice card. That's a great interpretation of the Hanged One. It is it's a beautiful deck. What can you do? It's a beautiful deck, guys. Look at that. It's playful, it's fun, the art style is fantastic, but I don't know these people, and it means I have to do a lot of work probably to really get to know these people. I know, my friend Tammy tells me, like, just, dive in, have fun, play, etc. I have so many decks right now that I need to dive into and play with, etc., that I didn't even get to this year. Oh, Lord. So, I don't know. Also, there's a nature to this that's like, there are certain people that were worthy of making it into the deck, I guess, and some who weren't. No one's that I know of has said anything about that. That's probably just me coming out and saying that, but I have to wonder, like, I don't know. I worry about, like, the kind of gossipy, one-upmanship kind of aspect that may be a part of I don't know. And it's preventing me from just engaging and trying it out. So a big challenge I've set for myself in the new year is to just pick it up and work with it and remove any biases. And if I really don't like it after working with something this beautiful and this well-made, I can rehome it. That's never a problem. It just isn't. It's just never a problem. So we'll see about that. But that is my envy deck, is the Tarot of Peers, or the Pocket of Peers Tarot. The next sin is the sin of lust. And so these are decks, or a deck that you bought because you really love the aesthetic, right? There's something about the beauty of the deck that you just love. I wish that I had more time to go digging and pulling out my big, my plastic totes upstairs, because that's where I've stored the boxes for these two. And part of the lust that I have for this first deck is definitely around its box. But you'll have to take my word for it. I feel like, I've said before, I feel like this deck could have been an MFA art project, like a thesis project, because it's that freaking amazing. And that is the Dust to Onyx Tarot. One of my favorite decks. It could easily have qualified as the pride of my collection as well. It is a deck I'm very proud to have. But I was like, no, this is totally the Lust deck, because it's just one of the most beautiful decks that I own. Part of that lust is the textures that are included, which were part of the original artwork. We have the gold foil at the bottom. Every Every single detail in this deck is accounted for, and worked with, and in the most extraordinary ways. I would love to have actually seen the original artwork. I can't imagine how incredible it probably is or was. You know, when you can be in the room with a piece of art, you have the opportunity to really be with it and appreciate it and know it in a way that you can't when you're looking at a reproduction. So I know that like sand and glitter were used as part of the making of these decks. I'm seeing stuff in this one that I don't think I've ever quite taken in before. And I just love it. Not only that, but the aesthetic of the language that the creator uses, and her name is blanking at the moment. I can normally draw her name to draw her name to the tip of my tongue at a heartbeat, but the language that she uses in the deck itself, again, in terms of aesthetic, it has poetry. It really has, it has a richness and a poetic nature to it that is kind of transcendent, and definitely part of my own personal aesthetic. So, you know, even the portrayal of this tradition of cutting the fingers off in order, you know, to really remember the dead, you know, the dead, or to honor a loss in that Five of Gourds. I mean, that's, even that, you know, is, like I said, every detail is cared for. I love the nature of the darkness of the deck. You know, it's, I feel like it just uplifts people of African origin and descent to a whole new level of beauty and richness and integrity and respect and honor, and I love it. Yeah, I mean, what, wow. You know, I mean, just, oh my God. It's so beautiful and so alive. And the, it has this wonderful edging on it that is like, it just doesn't wear down. You know, it is kind of a rose petally type finish. I personally love that. I've never had a problem with it, and I really don't see that as any kind of a barrier in this particular deck. It still moves very comfortably and slides easily and comfortably. It does clump a little bit, but you know, if you think about it, so does every deck. Every deck clumps a little bit. You know, when you pull it apart and work with it, it's fine. I've never had an issue. So anyway, that's aesthetic deck number one for me. The second one I have that I've never used nearly as much as this one, but yet I cannot bring myself to let go of, is the Luminous Void. The aesthetic, again, of this deck is what keeps me in this relationship. It is so beautiful and exquisite. You know, it is, again, it is a really super duper rose petal finish at a level just beyond this, the Dust to Onyx, but it also has that kind of gold, like a light gold gilding on it that doesn't wear off. You know, it is beautifully produced. I love the roughness of the images. You know, they inspire me to think maybe I could also paint, you know, or draw or work with watercolor in this way, because I can't. I just don't know how at this point. It also kind of speaks to my work and background as a Tibetan Buddhist. There's a lot in here with the rainbows and the red and the white. All of it, you know, the void, the bliss is just, it feels very Dakini to me. Yeah, you know, the nature with which the humans are kind of portrayed as being sort of like human but not, in a weird way, or just like a little bit beyond human. also really speaks to, God, I love that one. I don't know. It reminds me of, like, beings that are not, that don't, like devas. They're not really human. They don't really take a human form. I just, at this moment, felt like the Ace of Cups has a penis over it. Anyone else ever seen that before? I've never seen it that way before, but I see it that way today. Very interesting. Okay. But yeah, this one, I really should pull out and read more. I do love it. I do lust after it. I love the way it feels. I love the way it moves in my hands. I know, again, a lot of people don't like the rose petal. This, I do. I'm sorry. I love it. I think it's exquisite. I have no issues with rose petal. I still think it's beautiful. I'm going to come out with it. So, there we go. There's my lust. Those are my lust decks. Okay, gluttony. So the sin of gluttony is reserved for a deck that you bought but did not need. Now, I ask you, friends, how many decks do you own that you bought but did not need? I would imagine, if you're anything like me, probably the vast majority of them. I think right now I'm at a saturation point with all of the decks that I own. And I did start doing that this year, where I just started clearing them out. Ones that I really don't use, ones that I really have never connected with, ones that I anticipate not really wanting to connect with or whatever. Really being willing to shift them on. That said, the deck that I decided to go ahead and get, because I have nothing like it in my anywhere in my collection, and I probably didn't need one like it in my collection and chose to get one anyway, is the Mystic Martian Oracle by Lisa Porter. I just got this one recently, and I really don't need it. I really don't. I have, again, so many decks that I have not managed to get to or even get through during my depth year. And yet I could not help but to get this one. It was just calling to me. I saw B from Macaulay Sunflower walk through this one and do an unboxing, and I just thought it was fascinating enough that I really had to get a copy. And I have a walkthrough and unboxing of it coming out soon. I have actually been working with it because I wasn't taking it that seriously. I thought of it as just like a fun deck. So I took it with me to work to play with, while we're waiting, while the doctor has folks in, and we're waiting for, I'm waiting to go in to work on a patient. I have had so much stinking fun with this, and I actually took it seriously and ended up getting some incredible readings out of it. See, mindset. So, yeah, a deck I didn't need, but I purchased anyway. What was it again? Gluttony? Oh yeah, very gluttonous. This is it. It's actually a lot better than I expected. I expect to do a few more readings with it that I may share with everyone, using some spreads in here. It's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, that's a deck I didn't need, but I purchased anyway. There is another one that I got at about the same time, and I feel like I really want to mention it as well because, again, I don't need this deck. I really didn't need it. I purchased these both at the same time. But it's the Earthcraft Oracle by Juliet Diaz and Lorraine Anderson. I had to have this one because it's a Hay House deck, but all three creators are not white, finally. And that was honestly enough to make me want to come back and purchase a deck from Hay House. I've struggled to purchase anything from Hay House for quite a while because of, I'm just tired of their, like I am with Llewellyn. It's hard to buy from Llewellyn sometimes, but, Hay House has the creator I will not name because I find her so irritating. And, you know, it just feels very plastic and fake. And it's like, well, if you have all of these incredible women who are creators that you could be choosing from, why? You know, why would you not choose to have them create a deck? And what a deck, guys. This one is so good. It's just so good. You'll recognize the creators, the names of the creators of this deck, you know, Juliet Diaz and Lorraine Anderson, because they have created they've created the Samhain Oracle, you know, with all of the other ones are with Rockpool. But it's beautifully written and just exquisitely done. So highly recommend it. Again, I didn't need it, but I really wanted it. So, and now I have it. And I'm actually really glad. I'm really glad I got both of these. This one I bought out of seriousness. This one was just a lark. And I've actually been really glad I bought both of them. Finally, the deck that you use when you're feeling lazy, otherwise known as the sin of sloth. So when I'm feeling lazy and I just need a reading to be understandable, concise, and really good, the deck I reach for, big shock, is the Marielle Tarot. This is my first edition. It was the easiest one to get to. My first and second editions are always in my acrylic monster over here so that I can reach them and get to them quickly and easily when I'm working with clearance. I also have a copy of this deck that's completely trimmed, where the borders are trimmed. It's a first edition that is only my deck. Okay, so see also greed. I'm apparently very greedy, very greedy. But, you know, I have a version of the deck where I just want it to be mine, and I keep it that way. But yeah, this deck I've worked with so deeply for so long. I just love it. I mean, I could also say that this one could qualify as a flex deck or a pride deck. It could qualify as greed, potentially as lust. You know, there are so many different sins wrapped up in this one, you know. Yeah, I mean, the aesthetic of the cards and the cardstock has never quite fit for me. I think the most recent version of the second edition that came out that's got a really beautiful plasticized matte cardstock and silver gilding is probably the closest. But it's my deck. I don't know what else to say. It's just always been my deck. And the longer I work with it and the more deeply I appreciate it all the more. You know, these images are becoming as embedded in my mind and my soul as the Rider-Waite Smith, you know, because of working with it so closely for so long. So, but I mean, it talks. The minute I see cards laid out together, I know exactly where they're going. And the reading is always very, very clear. So that's my Sloth deck. There we are, friends. So, thank you again to Sylvain for creating this hashtag. Welcome to the community, dude. I've been over there like watching your videos and leaving some comments. I'm always I either get a chance to leave tons of comments or frequently I just end up not being able to leave more than one of late. But I always try to go in and at least watch and like and subscribe. So, you know, thank you for pulling this out there, and welcome to the community. You've made quite a splash, friend. Take care, everybody, and I will see you again very soon. Bye.